You're watching ETN, entertainment-related news, entertainment-related discussion. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video is going to be a long podcast. I want to let you know that if there is a certain topic you just want to focus on listening to and make a comment on, there will be timestamps below, so you guys don't have to watch the whole video. I know some of you like to watch long videos. I know some of you just rather get to a certain topic. So there will be timestamps below in the description for you to click on and get straight to the point. We're going to be reviewing the NXT takeover on Saturday, as well as the pay-per-view on Sunday, Money in the Bank, as well as last night's Raw for you WWE fans. So you can find the timestamp for that and get right to it. We're also going to be discussing Godzilla. I recently saw the 2014 movie again. It had been a while. And I did that because I wanted to see if there was anything in the movie that they could possibly leverage and extract into the sequel. So we're going to discuss that, and you can find a timestamp for that below. Also, we're going to discuss the Wonder Woman and Aquaman, some of the spoilers and rumors leading into San Diego Comic-Con. We've gotten some screenshots for Wonder Woman, as well as some news about trailers being released for Aquaman come Comic-Con. So we'll discuss that for a little bit. If you want to hear about that, you can look for the timestamp. And we're also going to discuss some of the conversion, as always, between politics and entertainment. Once again, this is almost a daily thing. I discussed this in extension with a Star Wars video I did. It's about 31 minutes long, and discussing how the SJW thing and the fans and just that ugly circle going on right now. But it's not only Star Wars. This happens in other forms of, or in many forms of entertainment, in particular movies, and we get a little taste of that again outside of the Star Wars universe. If you want to talk about or respond to that or hear about that, you can find a timestamp for that below as well. So we're going to start with the WWE wrestling, because that is pretty much a good portion of this video, because I didn't get to do a review on it yesterday, and I wanted to make sure I get caught up before Raw comes out. SmackDown starts tonight. So first thing foremost, NXT was, as always, a great show. There were, I don't know how these guys pull up such great shows with only like 5 or 6 matches on the card. But I thought it was very entertaining. I would have to say I liked the opening match. The opening tag team match was really good. I did enjoy Velveteen Dream and Ricochet. I like Ricochet a lot. I think he's very, very talented. He's just a lot of fun to watch. Velveteen Dream has this great charisma. And that, I would say, they were all so good. Even the Shayna Baszler and Nikki Cross match was really good. And obviously, Gargano and Ciampa was just another classic. And I love the way it ended. The thing I love about that match most of all is how towards the middle of the match, leading towards the end, Ciampa removed the tarp from the ring and the padding where you can actually expire. I've never seen that done before. And that was just great, great stuff right there. So, also, just pardon me if I sound a little under the weather. I am still very much sick and trying to get over it, but it's been a little bit rough going. So NXT was just, once again, solid and in some ways better than the major pay-per-view on Sunday. So I would say my favorite match was probably Ricochet and Velveteen Dream. I just like watching Ricochet. He just does so many great things. But honestly, it's really tough to call because all the other matches are great. The opening tag team match was such a great brawl, and it was so fun to watch. And then, the Shayna Baszler and Nikki Cross match was really good. And, NXT TakeOver is just fantastic. And that oh my God, when Johnny Gargano took Tommaso Ciampa and jumped off, I thought he was really hurt. They did such a good job selling when he was sitting there, laying there saying, I need help. I'm like, and then Gargano's sitting there watching. So I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, man, this guy's really hurt. And then when I saw Gargano look at his ring, I'm like, I've been sold, and he goes down and he attacks Tommaso, only for Tommaso to get up when Gargano was fighting off all the referees and stuff like that and security. And then he went to Ciampa, and Ciampa just took him and DDT'd him right into the wood, man. That was great. It was a great finish for a great match. So, man, NXT was just solid, good stuff. Really, I can't wait to watch the next TakeOver, which is going to be London. Fortunately, I won't be able to watch it when it's live, but I'll definitely watch the taping when I get home from work that day. That should be a lot of fun. It's going to be pretty crowded that day too, because then you got Monday Night Raw later on that night as well. So now Money in the Bank, I thought Money in the Bank was pretty good. You know, I thought the women's ladder match was really good. I actually liked that a lot. I didn't like the result. You know, Alexa Bliss was a little bit of a surprise for her to come out the winner. I thought it would definitely be either Natalia or Becky Lynch was really, obviously the crowd wanted her to win. That would have been nice because she really hasn't had anything to do in such a long time. And it would have been nice to have her into a storyline, you know, with a chance to get a title with the Money in the Bank briefcase. But no, Alexa won. And look, I can't blame him for making that decision. She is just such a great heel, and she does such a lot of good things on the mic. She's good. She's pretty good in the ring considering how small she is. So I can't really blame him for going with Alexa with this. But it would have been nice to see either mainly Becky. You know, it would have been pretty good if Lana won, because if Lana had won and then maybe Rusev would have won, the whole Rusev Lana couples Money in the Bank briefcase owners. That would have been pretty good. The other match that I liked a lot was the obviously the Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax match was really entertaining. I thought Ronda Rousey made Nia Jax look so good. I mean, she was pounding on Ronda Rousey, and I was impressed. Ronda was taking a beating, and she was doing a good job of it. And she made Nia look so good. Nia's never looked better than that in such a long time. You know, ever since she won the belt, she's kind of just been, I don't know, floating around. And this match was really good for that. And then finally, Ronda Rousey started making her comeback. She just looks really good in the ring. I know she still has a lot of training to do. I know that match was probably heavily choreographed. But still, obviously, Ronda Rousey is just an athletic phenomenon. And she's definitely got... She's definitely got the athleticism and the ability to do what they do in the ring. She probably just needs more training, and we'll talk about this when we get into the Raw portion of this. But obviously now she's got another 30 days to do some work because we've got this 30-day suspension that they played up, but we'll get into that later. So that was probably my favorite match. The Jinder Roman match was, oh man. It's funny because I like Roman. I've said this plenty of times. I actually like Jinder as a heel too. But I knew that when they started this feud, it wasn't going to go anywhere. And the crowd didn't even give him a chance. The crowd was already all over this match before it even started. But instead of giving them something to cheer about, the performance on both, they just didn't, I don't think they had a good chemistry. When you have a crowd that's this rowdy against particular wrestlers in a particular match, you got to give them something to cheer for. And doing headlocks and wearing down moves, that just doesn't cut it. So it went from bad to worse, and then this crowd was brutal. And, I don't know we'll get into what they're going to do with Roman later, because obviously they did something on Raw that I didn't expect, but I actually do kind of like. Surprisingly, the Seth Rollins Elias match, which I thought ended very well, wasn't as good as I expected. I thought it was solid, but when you consider the kind of matches Rollins has been having the last 8 weeks on Raw, even against someone like Mojo Rawley, I thought it was pretty surprising that this match was a bit underwhelming. Now, look, there could be a feud starting there that we don't know about, and they kind of want to build up to it. Much like what they've been doing with AJ Styles and Nakamura, which we'll get into that in a second. But I was surprised. Now, it ended great. Those last 5 minutes, 7 minutes were fantastic. And that more than made up for the fact. But I was just pretty surprised. And, I don't know if it's because they just didn't mesh well, they didn't have good chemistry, or if it's because they're saving some of this for a match later down the road. We'll have to see. I didn't think it was a horrible match at all. But when you consider what Rollins has been bringing to the table and the kind of way he's been meshing with some other wrestlers that have just been jumping in there with him, I was expecting this to be big, but I have a feeling that's not the last these two have seen of each other. The opening match with the Bludgeon Brothers and the Good Brothers, I knew Bludgeons were going to win that. That wasn't really anything too impressive about that match. The last man standing match was a lot of fun to watch. I don't like the end result. I mean, Nakamura right now, to me, is such a great villain. And he's already lost to AJ so many times going into this. I felt that it was time to give him the title. I think he'd earned it. They've had some great matches in the last couple of times that they've met from the time it started at WrestleMania leading up to this. And I really thought AJ's had the belt for a while. I think AJ's had a good run. I said, I think Nakamura's earned this. And no. Nakamura loses again. So I don't know where they're going to go from here. I don't think you can keep this feud going much longer. As entertaining as it's been, maybe they can. Maybe they're going to run it dry all the way to SummerSlam. I don't know. That's, let me see. SummerSlam's 2 months away. So you got another pay-per-view to go before you even get to SummerSlam, which is at least another 10 weeks of them feuding. I can't see it after he's lost to AJ, 5 times out of 6 matches? So I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm assuming that the Daniel Bryan Big Cass, which is another match we haven't spoken about yet, but there's really not much to speak about there. But I'm assuming that feud is over now. Maybe they can insert Daniel Bryan into a feud with AJ, or maybe they'll do some triple threat thing going on between AJ and Nakamura and Bryan. That would be great. I'm hearing whispers in the wind that Nakamura may be feuding soon with Jeff Hardy. That's fine. But if he's going to feud with Jeff Hardy, I think he's got to win at some point. He's your best heel on the show right now. He's had some great matches the last couple of months with AJ. I think you need to make him your top heel, and to keep him your top heel, I'm sorry, since I'm sick, I'm constantly having to clear my throat. If you're going to keep him your top heel, then I think you need to give him a title or give him some victories. You need some victories. Speaking of the Bryan and Cass match, I don't know. That feud was never appealing to me to begin with. I don't like Big Cass, at least not right now. And this feud hasn't been very exciting. It's just fun to watch Daniel Bryan altogether. So I guess that's the saving grace, is you get to see Daniel Bryan perform. But you want to see Bryan up against these other guys like AJ, Nakamura, Jeff Hardy would be fantastic. Those are the kind of matches I think I'd want to see, even against Samoa Joe. Big Cass right now, just I don't know what they're gonna do with him, but it was an underwhelming feud, so I wasn't too crazy about that. Now the other match that I thought was kind of funny, Carmella and Asuka. Now Asuka hasn't been around very much since WrestleMania, and she got her title match. I had a feeling she wasn't gonna win this. I guess I kept wondering, how was she going to lose? Because we all know she's better than Carmella. And I like Carmella as champion, don't get me wrong. I think she's got that good mic presence. Everybody hates her. Her skills in the ring, obviously, when you compare them to, like, Asuka and Charlotte Flair, there's no comparison. But she seems somewhat competent in the ring. So what happens in this match... and I heard rumors about, we all know what happened by now, but somebody comes dressed up in Asuka's garb with the mask and everything, and I heard the rumors that he was going to be back, but I gotta admit, I actually thought for a moment there it might be Nikki Cross from NXT. And the reason I thought it might be her is because I heard that one of the reasons they hadn't shown Sanity yet is because they were waiting for her to come up. She already had her match the last night with Shayna Baszler, lost the title match, and I thought that was going to be it. She's going to come up. So I actually thought it was Nikki Cross doing that, and which to me it would have been better if it had been Nikki Cross. But there had been rumors that James Ellsworth was coming back. So when he popped up, I kind of laughed. I thought it was pretty funny. And then it just made... But I think Asuka looked bad in this match because why would she be so enthralled? I could understand someone coming to the ring dressed like you. You'd be like, wait a minute, what's going on? But the minute he revealed himself, why would you even be shocked? Just be like, oh, whatever, it's just him. And then go back to your business. So I don't know what they're going to do with Asuka, but she has, ever since WrestleMania, she has not been treated well. That's her first pin loss to Carmella, of all people. So I don't know what they're doing with her, but they got to do something because she was the hottest thing in the women's division going into WrestleMania, and ever since WrestleMania, they've been shitting on her. I don't know why. I think it would have been okay if she won the title here. She should be able to beat Carmella. Carmella losing the title to Asuka, even though she's only had it a couple of weeks, would have been fine. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with her. But be that as it may, we'll have to see how that plays out going forward. If that's going to be a mini feud they're going to start, or if they're going to put somebody else in the ring with Carmella. So finally, the men's ladder match, which I thought was very good. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. But the winner obviously being... This is going to be interesting now that Strowman's the winner, but when are you going to get to use the briefcase when Brock Lesnar is never around? Like, do you have to go to his house with a ref and tell the ref to ring a bell from his car and tackle Brock Lesnar in his living room while Sable runs upstairs and maybe calls the cops? I don't know. So we'll see how they're going to play that out. But the match in and of itself was a lot of fun. It was very entertaining. I was a little disappointed that it was Kofi Kingston, not because I don't like Kofi Kingston, but I think either Woods or Big E deserve an opportunity at a singles run. But be that as it may, it was a lot of fun to see Kofi. He does some great stuff in the ring anyway, so I can understand why. But a lot of the things they did in this match were great. I mean, when Braun Strowman ran through that ladder, oh my God, that guy's such a monster. I mean, obviously he's a monster among men, but it's incredible, his strength. And tossing Kevin Owens from the top of the ladder, and that pretty much put Owens out for the rest of the match. I love the Miz, and a couple of times the Miz tried to be sneaky and run in and grab the ladder and climb up the ladder. Got caught every time he tried. One time, very smart, he was running up the ladder when everybody else was out on the platform dealing with Brock Lesnar until Samoa Joe sniffed him out. A lot of people thought Joe was going to win that, and maybe he should have. I think it's kind of weird now because you have two Raw... Well, we didn't even talk about what Alexa Bliss did, but we'll get into that in a minute. But essentially, you had two Raw Money in the Bank winners, so where does that leave SmackDown? I mean, SmackDown has the better roster overall. Raw seems to be the favorite show for some of these things, but I don't know where they're going to go with SmackDown now. Like, what does SmackDown have to move forward now? We'll have to see. But men's ladder match was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I thought the pay-per-view overall was pretty good. You know, I thought it was a little bit long. The AJ Nakamura match was a little bit longer than I expected. I expected it to be long, but not as long as it was. But probably the highlight of the night was that match between Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey, because Ronda Rousey once again looked excellent. And then to top it all off, Alexa Bliss cashes in, beats the hell out of Ronda Rousey with the briefcase, beats the hell out of Nia Jax, does the Twisted Bliss, or I think that's what it's called, Twisted Bliss. And then she wins the title back, which is like, oh my God. However, segueing into Monday Night Raw, and we open the night with Alexa Bliss being presented with the belt by Kurt Angle, and Ronda Rousey comes down to the ring. Kurt Angle tries to keep her calm, stands in between her and Alexa. Meanwhile, Alexa's running her mouth, until finally Ronda Rousey had enough of it, and she tackles Alexa down. Kurt Angle tries to stop her. She flips Kurt Angle on his ass, and she just pummels, and I mean pummels, Alexa Bliss, and then power bombs her ass. Oh, it was kind of like a power bomb / razor's edge through the table. I mean, it was just such a good opening. And pardon me, I can't say that the rest of the show was too much better, but that was a great way to open it. And Raw, oftentimes, in a whole, is not always a great show, but a lot of times it has some great moments. That was one of them. Elias's little performance at some point in the night was really good. Dolph Ziggler winning the Intercontinental title was a surprise. I thought that would be a good match. Actually, it would have been nice if we saw Drew McIntyre wrestle. I really want to see Drew McIntyre get pushed, man. He's such a big dude. He's strong. He looks cool, and I like Drew McIntyre a lot. I would love to really see him get a push. And maybe he will. maybe he will. Him and Dolph Ziggler seem to be on this quest for gold. They've gotten the Intercontinental title. Something tells me they'll grab the tag team titles at some point, because even if the B team beat at some point beat the oh my god, the Leader of Worlds. Thank you. I can't see the Leader of Worlds hold. That's really not going too well, unfortunately. As much as I love Matt Hardy and the whole broken gimmick, those two, just the idea of them teaming up together was great, but the execution hasn't been that great. I still love watching Matt Hardy come out with his whole delete thing. I'll never get tired of that. I think it's one of the best things in the world. But, and pardon me here while I just pull something up. But I think that my microphone's in the way. But I think that group together in and of itself has not been going too well. But Drew McIntyre, yeah, that would have been great. Ooh. Pardon me. So, yeah, I think that that was an interesting turn. That Rollins out of nowhere, because he's been so strong lately. It was kind of weird that they just went that route. So then we had the Kurt Hawkins Bobby Roode match, which I guess, whatever. And then we had Slater and Rhino. Heath Slater and Rhino versus obviously the Leader of Worlds. The Leader of Worlds, hold on. So, I mean, just there was a lot, surprisingly there was a lot of matches. They just weren't all that great. Like Chad Gable and Jinder Mahal. I mean, that was, And then here's the one I really want to talk about. This Sasha Banks Bayley thing is starting up again, and I can't believe they're doing this. Look, and here's the thing. I love Bayley. For whatever reason, I know people I love Bayley. I just do. I love Bayley. I think I like her. I like her whole routine, the whole hug stuff. She's just like a classic face. We don't see many of those these days. Everybody wants to be the badass. That's one of the reasons I love her. I personally think she's a good wrestler when she's given the opportunity to show her skill. I saw a lot of her matches in NXT, and what she's done in NXT versus what she does here is way different, much like many of the wrestlers that come up. So, but this whole thing with her and Sasha, what are we doing here? Like, are we really going to start this up again? Just make one of them a straight heel. I wouldn't even care if you made Bayley a heel. I think it would be such a great turn. I don't know if she'd want to do that. She's got so many kids that love her and all that I don't know if that would be good for her. But, man, do something with these two. Let it feud and let it end. Like, I don't get that. So the thing that I really want to talk about, though, is the big announcement of the multi-man, I guess, match for a chance at the U.S. Universal title. And, of course, Roman came out, surprisingly to some cheers. That shocked the hell out of me. The minute Kurt Angle started talking, he came out, and people actually cheered. I was like, wait, what? What's going on here? I mean, we all know Roman does have fans. Often, the people who hate him out-yell the people who like him. We know that. So, this happens. He comes out. He starts talking once again how he should be the champion and blah, blah, blah. And then Lashley comes out. And this was something I didn't expect. Bobby Lashley comes out. And he starts talking trash to Roman. And I was like, whoa. And honestly, these are two guys who I think kind of need each other right now. You know what I mean? This is, to me, I know probably other people disagree because there's a lot of people that are indifferent about Bobby Lashley, which is not a good thing. And then people hate Roman Reigns. So you put the two together, it may not. But me personally, I like this. This is just something, to me, it's going to be better than Jinder Mahal. They needed to do something with Bobby Lashley. He was dying there for 2 months. I don't know what they were thinking. Even putting him into a feud with Sami Zayn, as much as I like Sami Zayn. I know people love Sami Zayn. They're just two different trains on the same track going different directions. Like, you can't put Sami Zayn and Bobby Lashley in the ring and expect people to believe that that's actually going to be a competitive match. And I didn't talk about it in the Money in the Bank segment because obviously it was a very forgettable match. But that showed in that match where Lashley just pretty much towards the end squashed him. But it should have been a squash from the beginning, in my opinion. So I like this. I like this setup here. Now, the question remains, who else is going to be in this multi-man match? We'll find out over the coming weeks. And obviously, it'll be at Extreme Rules, which will lead into SummerSlam, which I think is where they're aiming for Lesnar to lose the belt, because he's going to be doing his MMA thing, and then we'll go from there. So I kind of like this. So then these two guys that I can't even remember their names. The Revival. There we go. I was going to say the Arrival. I said, no, it's not Arrival. The Revival. So the Revival come out. They start trash talking. Reigns actually had a pretty funny little mini promo where he's mocking one of the members, and I thought that was pretty funny. It's something he actually did that was comical. So they had a tag team match, and obviously Reigns and Lashley won, but there was a little, little heat there, a little dissension during the match, tagging when they didn't want to tag, or coming in, and Roman's looked like he was going to end the match, and then Lashley cut him off, went in, did his moves, and got the pin. Yeah. I'm hoping this turns out to be good. I think it has a chance to be good, but this is WWE, so let's see what happens. Yeah, that's that. No Way Jose versus Mojo Rawley. Nobody cares. I talked about the Elias performance. I thought was really good and funny. Finn Balor and Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens and Constable Baron Corbin, which was the main event. And it was okay. I mean, again, the best part of this Raw, honestly, was the opening. The opening was the best part. Ronda Rousey squashing Alexa Bliss, and obviously we found out later on that she gets suspended, and that's basically just giving her another 30 days to prepare for her next match. That's really what it is, let's be honest. So overall, I thought wrestling over the weekend leading into last night's Monday Night Raw was a lot of fun. NXT was great. Money in the Bank was pretty good. Monday Night Raw was, as it always is, overall not great, but there's segments in those 3 hours that are really good. Tonight, I think the highlight was the Ronda Rousey squash of Alexa Bliss during the presentation. And we're going to move on from there. Now, Godzilla, the Extra Monsters Theory. Okay, so as I said in the beginning of this video, I did go back and I watched Godzilla 2014. I hadn't seen it in a while. I wanted to watch it. Now that the sequel is coming out, we're moving into a place where, I wanted to look at the movie and say, I wonder if this is going to be some things from the first movie that they might drag into the second, or that they might leverage into the second movie. One of the things we've learned about the second movie is that there are going to be other monsters in the movie outside of the major four: Godzilla, Mothra, Ghidorah, and Rodan. Now, these aren't going to be major monsters. They might have a minor role. They might just be there to be squashed at some point. But there is rumor going around that is a thing. We also know that there was a screening of the movie. Now, I didn't hear any confirmation of other monsters being in there. Somebody said that there was. We don't know. But let's assume there are, okay? And a lot of people are safely assuming that there will be, because there was also mention of the direct, and there might be, and maybe they just won't make it into the final cut. But let's just have some fun here. When I thought about that, I said to myself, okay, where will all these monsters come from? It's one thing that we're going to have to learn where Mothra, Rodan, and Ghidorah come from. But to come out and now put maybe one or two other monsters in it that might have a lesser role, they might just be there to be fodder, where are they going to come from? And when I watched the ending of Godzilla 2014, one of the things that stood out to me was when Ford Brody went in to blow up the egg nest after getting out the nuke. During this time is when Godzilla was fighting the female Muto. They were going back and forth. And I said to myself, I wonder if they would possibly use that as leverage. Maybe a couple of the eggs survived and hatched, and maybe, who knows, maybe that's how the movie starts. There was a Muto or two that actually survived underground for a long period of time since the last movie, and they surfaced. That's what brings Godzilla back out. And, and I thought, there might be a couple of things they can definitely leverage from the first movie that we're not thinking about. And I'm not talking necessarily about this. I'm using this as an example because I don't think they would do that. But, you consider that we're still in that same universe, okay? Because we know that Dr. Serizawa and Dr. Graham are coming back. They're going to be in the movie. So that leaves, obviously, the world intact. So I thought to myself, wow, that'd be interesting if we saw maybe one of these extra monsters that are being rumored to be in the movie that are maybe original creations that may not have a big role, but they're there to be fodder to show that monsters are starting to surface more and more. I think that would be a good way of doing it, in my opinion. I'm not saying they are, and they probably won't. But it just kind of made me think, wow, what are the things in the first movie could they leverage to link to the second movie? Because outside of the two actors that are returning, Watanabe and Hawkins, that's pretty much it in terms of actors, in terms of characters. So that I'm thinking to myself, if it's the same world, if it's the same universe, there has to be other things they might want to link up, and that's one that came to my mind, the egg thing. The other thing that came to my mind is maybe showing some sort of rebuilding in San Francisco. How the recovery. Do we get more information on casualties? Do we get a monument of people who died during the attack? How do people react? Are there some sort of people suffering some sort of psychosis in result of the attack? How much damage did the nuke do? Right? I mean, these are questions that we don't necessarily have to have answered, but I think it would make for a richer story if we did. And that remains the question, how much of a story are we going to get? Because it sounds like we're getting a lot of monster action. But at least, when you look at the first movie, there are things in the first Godzilla movie that they really could, if they wanted to, that they could leverage into the second movie. There's still a lot of questions. Obviously, Monarch is one of the big ones. We don't know much about Monarch other than what Kong Skull Island gave us and what little we learned in Godzilla 2014. I do think we'll get more Monarch, in my opinion. I think we can all agree with that more Monarch will come to surface. But yeah, I wanted to know what you guys thought. What do you think from the first movie, if you've seen it recently? What certain events in the first movie do you think they could? I'm not saying that they would. It doesn't mean that it has. Just in your theory, or if you were the creator, what portions of the first movie would you leverage in the second movie? Would you want to extend into the second movie in terms of storytelling or reasoning as to why events might be happening in the second one? Obviously, we don't know what happens yet, but just kind of theory crafting, so to speak, for lack of a better term. Okay, so Wonder Woman and Aquaman. San Diego Comic-Con is probably going to be the big thing for... Now, somebody messaged me earlier. I think it was Joey, unprepared. I didn't get a chance to speak to him, so he might have had some info for me, but he had some nuggets on the whole DC thing that he wanted to share with me. Right now, as far as we know that the images of Wonder Woman were the most biggest thing that recently, because we see that Chris Pine's character is back. And there's a lot of theories going around as to why that is. And the movie takes place in the 80s. And it's only a couple of screenshots we have. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to guess or know why he's back, other than flashbacks. That's the only thing I can assume right away, flashbacks. Or some sort of conscience in Diana's mind. Until we get more information or until we actually see the movie, I'm not going to assume he's actually back. He's human. He blew up in a plane. He's dead as far as I'm concerned. So that's that's my way of finding a solution as to why he's there. He's there as a because from what I've seen in every picture, they seem to be interacting one-on-one without too many other people, unless there's been other pictures that have come out since. These pictures came out late last week. So we'll see. But either way, Wonder Woman's going to be a great movie. It's pretty much the best DC movie to date. And I'm looking forward to seeing... I don't know if we'll get a trailer of Wonder Woman at Comic-Con. And if we do, we don't know if we'll get it here at the public. But one thing everybody feels confident about is an Aquaman trailer at Comic-Con. We may even see one before that. Some people are theorizing we'll see one before Comic-Con. Either way, this is another movie I know very little about. I'm not a huge Aquaman fan. Not something I browse on the internet to look for, as much as I like Jason Momoa. But if they can get Aquaman right, if this is a movie that people like, if it gets good reviews and it does well, that's going to be a huge win for DC. And DC, outside of Wonder Woman, they need a huge win. I like Jason Momoa. I think he's a lot better actor than most people give him credit for. And I take that with Game of Thrones. And I know a lot of people say, oh, well, he was just acting like a big barbarian. Right, but think about the fact that he had to basically almost all his lines in Game of Thrones were of a made-up foreign language. Can you imagine trying to remember lines of a language that doesn't exist? So he definitely has a good work ethic. He's a good-looking guy, and he's got a very good comedic side, which we saw in Justice League. I'm looking forward to seeing him carry his own. Now, look, we know he hasn't carried his own movie in the past before. Obviously, Conan was a horrendous film, but that was a long time ago. I think he's probably grown since then. He's a very likable guy. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how he does, and I hope it does do well. For DC and for Jason Momoa's sake, I hope it does well. You know, it'll be great. So we'll see. But outside of that, I'm traditionally not an Aquaman fan at all. What few DC heroes that I do like, he's not one of them. You know, it's mainly the Flash, Superman, Batman to a much lesser degree now than before, and of course Wonder Woman. You know, the big four, basically, if you want to call them that, the big four. Obviously, those are the ones I love the most. So we'll see what happened at San Diego Comic-Con with those two movies. Wonder Woman, you know, she's going to have some competition this time around. While they're not obviously coming out or along the same window, they're going to be in the same vicinity of each other. Wonder Woman, the sequel, as well as Captain Marvel. Wonder Woman has the jump on that because she had her first movie. Everyone loved it for many reasons. I thought it was very entertaining. So can Captain Marvel be the sweetheart female superhero of the theaters? As much as I favor Marvel because of how they've done their movies and this and that, I'm actually going to say no. I don't think she can. Unless Wonder Woman throws out a dud. But I also think that Captain Marvel has to be exceptionally better than the first Wonder Woman. And one thing Marvel, I notice their movies, there's only certain characters, you know, Wonder Woman has such heart. I can't see that being the theme of Captain Marvel. You know, because when you think about heart in the Marvel Universe, the first thing you think about is Captain America. So we'll see how it plays out. But I'm looking forward to Wonder Woman 2, and I'm going to keep my eye on Aquaman. I like Jason Momoa. I want him to do well, and I do want DC to do well. And if they hit a home run with Aquaman, they're in good shape. I think, in my opinion, they'll be in good shape going forward. So, okay, we're going to end this podcast discussing how politics and entertainment cross over. And, you know, over the weekend, Brie Larson, who is going to be playing Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, made a comment regarding how she'd like to see less white guys or white dudes review movies. And, you know, again, this is going back to, I guess my question is this. Rather than say, I want to see less white guys review movies, why not say, I want to see more minorities review movies? You know, I guess, and I'm Puerto Rican here, but I got to play devil's advocate. I got to be fair and down the middle. Why attack white guys? Like, what did they do? Because they happen to review movies more than black guys, that's their fault? Or Puerto Rican guys, that's their fault? I mean, I don't know why we have to do this, you know. And then another thing that happened over the weekend was Mindy Kaling blames Ocean's 8's mixed reviews on white male critics. Okay, that's what it was. White male critics, not critics in general. Here's the ironic thing. There were white male critics that are very feminist. They're for feminism and they're leftists or Democrats who basically, when they reviewed the movie, they went out of their way to avoid saying it was a bad movie by focusing their praise on the female actresses, which is what I've been hearing a lot of, which tells me the movie's not good, but a lot of people don't want to say that. And she blames it on white male critics. Now, you got one who wants less of them and one who feels they're to blame for the movie not doing too well. And I really don't know why this is a thing anymore. Like, why are we constantly making everything about race? You know what I mean? I'm a Puerto Rican guy. I grew up in the South Bronx. I grew up in the ghetto. Okay? I did. There weren't white people where I grew up. There were Spanish and blacks. Okay? And I can tell you right now, from the time that I was a boy up to now, I can't really sit here and say that I was deprived any opportunity that a white person has. You know? I mean, I'm not famous. I'm not any of that. But I do review movies from time to time. You have the freedom to do that. Some people have made their career out of by starting to review movies on YouTube. So the point is, there's an opportunity there. This is not about all white people. There are other critics out there that are not white that shit on this movie. But we can't do that because, you know, it's all about the white guy. You know, I understand we want more diversity, you know, and if you're talking about Brie Larson's argument that there's too many white dudes reviewing movies, I understand if you think that the white person's holding you down by critiquing your movie. If you think it's a racist thing, then why would that white critic want to shit on a movie that predominantly does have white women in it? Cate Blanchett, Sandra Bullock, Anne Hathaway. I mean, they're all white. So it's not a race thing. You know, it's not about white critics. You know, just because your movie doesn't do well doesn't mean it's because, you know, I think people ultimately decide on their own. I mean, a prime example of people deciding on their own whether or not they're going to go see a movie and ignore the critics, the Transformers series. So you can't blame the critics, number one. Number two, you certainly can't blame white critics. America, for the most part, make their own decision as to whether or not they want to see a movie. The problem is, and this is the truth, whether you like it or not, this is the truth. Men pull in more money at the box office than women do. That's just how it is. Can that change? Well, in some ways it has. Obviously, Wonder Woman did very well. But that's the exception to the rule. The general consensus is nobody wants to see, or not everybody runs to see, an all-female cast movie. Not everybody runs to see a female lead movie. Captain Marvel is going to do very well at the box office, more so because she's part of a larger universe, and also because a lot of people like the comic character. But will Brie Larson be part of the reason people go see it? Probably. But I can tell you right now, when people were theorizing of who would be Carol Danvers, Brie Larson was not on that list at all. She was not. Now, we know she's a good actress. She's won an Oscar, and obviously she's got great skill. But ask anyone. Nobody was thinking about Brie Larson when they were thinking about Carol Danvers. Nobody. None. More people were thinking about Ronda Rousey as Carol Danvers, as bad of a choice as that might have been. But more people were talking about Ronda Rousey in that role than Brie Larson. And we all know Brie Larson is a better skilled actress than Ronda Rousey. So I think Captain Marvel is going to do great at the box office. I think Brie Larson will be part of the reason. But she won't be the whole reason. Just like, you know, when you have certain actors in the lead role, when people go to see, you know, Bourne Ultimatum or stuff like that, it's because Matt Damon plays a badass role. There's some movies that sell themselves because of the stories and what's surrounding them. Many of the Marvel movies are like that. Look, I'll admit it for men too. When Captain America first came out, nobody was going to go see that because of Chris Evans. And in some ways, a lot of people didn't get to see it. Chris Evans actually put himself and Cap back on the map in the Avengers, and then Winter Soldier just propelled him to whole new heights. But the point of the matter is this. Traditionally, female lead movies do not do as well as male-led movies. They don't. That doesn't mean that the women suck. They don't. That doesn't mean that it's a sexist thing. It's not. That's just how the public reacts. That's just, people are free to go see what they want to see. You can't force people to go see your movie because you think it's the right thing to do. I'm not going to lie. I love these women actresses that were in this movie. I love Cate Blanchett. Sandra Bullock is awesome. Anne Hathaway is badass as a Catwoman. I had no interest in seeing the movie. Honestly, I didn't. I had no interest. Why? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I just had zero interest in seeing it. It just, I don't know. I can't even tell you why. It's just like, oh, that looks nice, and that's it. And maybe I'll catch it on cable, And I'm sure I'm not the only one there. I'm sure there's plenty of men or women or anybody who say, man, I love these girls. I'm just not interested in watching that. Had nothing to do with the critics because I actually didn't read any of the critics' reviews, honestly, outside of hearing that some of them were speaking of the actresses. But even still, I don't listen to critics. If a movie interests me, it interests me. This movie just didn't. The same way Han Solo didn't interest me. It doesn't matter if you're a male or a woman, a male or female starring in a movie. If I'm not interested, I'm not interested, period. So, this whole thing, again, this is all politics. So once again, trying to rear its ugly head into the entertainment industry, trying to make people feel bad for not, or forcing people to feel immoral for not watching a movie that stars a female cast. Maybe people are just not interested. Maybe people want a more original story. I'm almost certain. I tell you one thing. I believe there is interest out there for people to see a movie with a female lead. I think Wonder Woman was part of that. But Wonder Woman also did that well because of the same reason that Captain Marvel was going to do well. While it is a female lead, it is about an iconic character that's been around for years. If you put Black Widow, who is not nearly as iconic as Wonder Woman or Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel, I think she'll do just as well. Because Scarlett Johansson, I think, can carry a movie. She's done it before. And she's been well established in her universe. But also, she's just a badass actress that a lot of men and women want to see a solo movie of her. So, I think it's all about preference. I don't think it has anything to do with sexuality or racism. I think it's preference. And people have a right to make a preference as to what they want to see. Period. And I just wish this stuff would stop, People come to the movies. They come to the movies to escape shit like this. Now that they're going to have to deal with it on a regular basis, it seems, I don't know where that's going to leave the entertainment industry. I mean, in some ways, the entertainment industry had been losing money here and there. You could make an argument that Disney has been doing quite a number in terms of revenue to save, I don't want to say save the industry, but keep it going pretty steadily. But I remember 3-4 years ago, people were talking about how Hollywood's losing money. And they stand to lose a lot more if this starts to really pick up more steam. And it seems like every time you turn your head, every time you turn the corner, there's somebody complaining, whether it's a woman or whether it's racism or social justice or whatever, and it's not just in movies, it's also in sports. There was an anchor on CNN recently, I can't remember her name, but she was complaining how Ronda Rousey, Serena Williams, Danica Patrick, all this and all that, how much they make less money than their counterparts, than their male counterparts. But what she fails to realize in that argument is that more people watch, for example, males tennis than females tennis. More people watch, when they watch racing, are not watching for Danica Patrick. They're watching for, I'm not into NASCAR, so I don't know who the top racer is now. And, Ronda Rousey, well, she's in wrestling now, but, she she was making more money in endorsements. She didn't need whatever money she made in the ring. She made in the ring, but I can tell you right now, she was making more than some men UFC fighters on endorsements alone. So I don't think that's a good example. Not to mention, these women negotiate their own deals. If they're agreeing to what they're currently getting or what they're currently getting paid, obviously they're content. So to sit there and try and set a narrative that there's inequality there, there isn't. There are certain facts and stipulations that go into why men make more money than women. Turns out more people watch men's tennis than watch women's tennis. You know, Danica Patrick, I'm not a NASCAR expert, but I don't think she's won a major event ever, right? But I tell you one thing, she makes more money than some of those racers on endorsements. GoDaddy.com alone is paying her bills 10 times over. So I don't think it's fair for people to come out and start going with this narrative that there's no equality between men and women when more women are higher ranking officials in the workforce throughout the country than men are. More women are graduating from school than men are. And opportunity for women are out there in abundance. So, you know, I think I just don't like the fact that there's just a lot of lying out there and a lot of baiting. It's just unfortunate. And for it to be spilling over into the entertainment industry the way it is even worse. So, but anyway, guys, that's it for this podcast. I want to thank you guys for watching, those who watched the whole thing. For those who didn't, obviously, I'm glad you made use of the timestamps, and they will be there in future podcasts for you guys to utilize, so that way you can get right to the discussions you want to get to and not have to, you know, if you're unable to sit through the whole podcast, I completely understand that. But anyway, that'll be it for this one. We'll be back tomorrow with another one. You guys have a good one. I hope you enjoy this. Until the next one, this is Rob signing off for ETN, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching ETN. Click here to watch more content. Or you can click here to become an ETN patron. Don't forget to leave a comment. Also, make sure you like and share this video. If you want to know when the next video is up, click the notification bell next to the subscribe button. And most of all, make sure to click that subscribe button for regular content.